But let's bring in Tony Fratto, founder of Hamilton Place Strategies. He's a former White House deputy press secretary under President George W. Bush. Kayla brings up a lot of interesting points about the confusion happening right now. We have entrance poll data, but no official results. I'm just looking here. Kayla mentioned some of the numbers, but according to NBC News' entrance poll results from late last night, it is Biden at 27% for the chosen candidate. I'm looking at Buttigieg at 20%. 12 for Warren and 11 for Sanders, but that might not be even close to what actually happens.
Yeah,
right?
It just tells you how what bizarro world Iowa is. Where every other state we're talking about exit polls. In Iowa, we have to talk about entrance polls, talking to people walking into these gyms, and it is a bizarre process to begin with. This conclusion, or not yet a conclusion, we hope by later today we'll have the results. It's pretty chaotic and doesn't really help any candidate. So it's upside down from the results that we're seeing. Biden has the most to lose here. He really needs to perform well here, and there's no evidence of that yet that he has.
So what does this mean then for Joe Biden if this Iowa doesn't pan out the way that his campaign expects it to?
He really has the most to lose, right? People expected Sanders to probably pull this out in Iowa. He's a favorite son going into New Hampshire, so people kind of expect him to win New Hampshire. Biden can't drop out of that top group. And look, if Buttigieg, Warren, and Sanders are forming that top group and Biden isn't in there, money's going to dry up for him. It's going to be hard for him to continue.
Kayla.
Dom, I want to mention something about Biden because the strategists that I talked to say that a lower tier finish by the former vice president would essentially be exactly what Michael Bloomberg is looking for his path into the race. As a moderate, as someone who policy-wise is not too far off from Biden, if Biden were to come away from Iowa victorious, then I think that the Bloomberg campaign would look at that and see that as a difficult indicator for its path forward. You did have some anecdotal data from some of the larger caucus sites in Cedar Rapids and Des Moines, where Biden was not a viable candidate in the first round of alignment for these voters. And so they were realigning themselves with other candidates. But the reporters who are embedded with the Biden campaign said that his strategy was actually to focus on more of the rural areas where the TV cameras weren't and where we just simply don't have that anecdotal data. And it's impossible to know how that data turned out.
All right. So Tony, Kayla brings up some interesting points with regard to what exactly it'll take for certain candidates to move forward.
Yeah.
One of the places they have to really address is health care, especially in Iowa, because the entrance polls that NBC News put out have health care as overwhelmingly the biggest topic of a concern. So what exactly does that mean for the message carrying into New Hampshire?
Yeah, I won't be surprised to see that carried over in some of the other states too. Economy's doing relatively pretty fine, right? Trump's going to go and talk, have a strong message tonight on the economy. Healthcare is that one issue that's still unresolved. It hasn't been resolved going back to the Clinton campaign in the early 90s. So they're going to have the candidate who comes through with that message, who can pick up those extra voters, is going to have an opportunity to really challenge Sanders. Like, Sanders has his message on healthcare. His voters are not going anywhere. Kayla is exactly right. The candidate who can be the alternative to Sanders and pick up those votes is going to be the one who's going to be going into Super Tuesday and have a chance. It very well could be Bloomberg. She's right that chaos helps Bloomberg in this. If no one comes out of these first 3 or 4 primaries without momentum, Bloomberg is going to be the beneficiary.